Tonight on First at 9, this Tuesday the 10th of September 2024. Cabinet decisions. Sri Lanka to establish a financial stability fund. Cabinet approves borrowing $400 million worth of loans from the Asian Development Bank. On the same page, estate owners and estate workers unions reach agreement on daily minimum wage for estate workers. Policy battle. Policies and opinions of key presidential candidates take centre stage with just 11 days remaining until the 2024 presidential poll.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. Sri Lanka will establish a financial stability fund which is to be gradually developed with funds from the annual budget as permitted by existing financial limitations. The decision to establish the fund was taken at yesterday's meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers. During the meeting, approval was also granted to obtain approximately $400 million worth of loans from the Asian Development Bank for a number of reform programs. And with that, let's review some other decisions taken during this week's meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal to obtain the $200 million loan facility from the Asian Development Bank under the second sub-program of the Financial Sector Stability and Reform Program. In order to obtain the loan amount, 12 pre-policy activities must be completed, and at present most of the activities have been completed or are in the final stages of completion. Cabinet also approved the proposal to enter into another loan agreement with the Asian Development Bank to obtain $93 million from the bank's general capital resources for the Mahaweli Water Conservation Investment Program. The ADB has agreed to provide $453 million of the program's $675 million cost, and $360 million of the $453 million loan has already been granted in two installments in the years 2015 and 2017. Approval was also granted to obtain another $100 million loan from the Asian Development Bank to implement the first phase of the water supply and sanitary reform program. The government will obtain $200 million from the ADB for the program in two installments. Meanwhile, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal to introduce a new regulatory body for the energy sector. The decision was taken in accordance with the recommendations of the committee appointed to study the establishment of regulatory mechanisms for the petroleum, liquefied petroleum gas, liquefied natural gas and lubricating oil sectors in Sri Lanka. Cabinet approval was also granted to establish a financial stability fund from the nominal amount of 1 billion rupees supplied by the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policy. The fund will be developed gradually by obtaining funds from the annual budget as permitted by existing financial limitations. The Cabinet of Ministers also approved the resolution to apply for the membership of the BRICS organisation and the new development bank to be established under it. The decision was taken after the Officers Committee appointed to investigate matters relevant to Sri Lanka's entry into the BRICS organisation submitted its report, which states that Sri Lanka entering BRICS would be advantageous for the country.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
කවුද ඔයා මෙච්චර ලස්සන්ට වෙනස් කළේ?
වෙනස් මනුස්සෙක්.
දිලිත් වෙනස් මනුස්සෙක්. රටක් වෙනස් කරන්නට තරුවෙන්.
The Election Commission ordered the immediate removal of all stickers promoting presidential candidates from vehicles, citing that it is a violation of election regulations. The election regulatory body also announced that the postal voters who were unable to cast their votes previously are able to do so today and the day after at the district election office of the district in which their workplace is located.
As the crucial presidential election draws closer, the Election Commission announced that postal voters who were unable to cast their votes on either the 4th, 5th or 6th of September can do so tomorrow or the day after. Such voters can cast their votes at the district election office of the district in which their workplace is located. Meanwhile, the Election Commission convened a meeting this morning to discuss matters pertaining to the presidential polls. The meeting saw the attendance of district election officers, district assistant and deputy commissioners of elections from all provinces of the country.
ජනතුවරණේ ඉදිරි වැඩ කටයුතු සම්බන්ධීකරණය ගැන සාර්ථකව නිම කරන්න අපිට මෙතුවන කොමිෂන් සභාවෙත් මෙතුවන කොමසාරිස් ජනරල්තුමාත් අද උපදෙස් ලබා දුන්නා.
The Commission also ordered the immediate removal of all stickers promoting presidential candidates from vehicles, citing that it is a violation of election law. The Election Commission has instructed the police to conduct emergency inspections across all police jurisdictions to remove such stickers. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education announced that all schools across the island will remain closed on Friday, the 20th of September, due to the 2024 presidential election, and the schools will recommence on Monday, the 23rd of September. The ministry stated that following the conclusion of the academic activities on Thursday, the 19th of September, schools which will be used as polling and counting centres must be handed over to the care of the local Gramanidari officers.
Leader and presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Anurakumara Dissanayake, asserted that all other presidential candidates are not willing to resolve the issues faced by the Sri Lankan people, as according to him, it will compromise their ability to profit from the people's misery. Dissanayake emphasised that, in contrast, he and the NPP will only assume power with the sole intention of making Sri Lanka prosperous.
An electorate rally of the National People's Power pledging support to the party's leader and presidential candidate Anurakumara Dissanayake was held in Aralaganvira today.
The human-elephant conflict has become a massive problem in many provinces. People have to live in fear for their lives and they are unable to protect their crops. The electric fence comes in the short-term solution. Our government will put them up and you must create local councils to oversee their maintenance. Both the government and the people have the responsibility of finding solutions for this issue. We have built a long-term plan on how to limit wild elephants to forest. We have a scientifically proven plan on how to minimize threats from wild elephants. However, what Sajith Premadasa proposes is a magical spell to get rid of elephants.
Meanwhile, another election rally of the NPP pledging support to Anurakumara Dissanayake was held in Matale this evening.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe is trying to fabricate a story by misinterpreting the statement I made in Jaffna. They say that my statement was racist and I need to apologize. However, I didn't have to respond to those allegations since M.A. Sumandiran gave the best answer. President Wickremesinghe should be ashamed of perpetuating dishonorable political culture. President Wickremesinghe leads the group that spread racism in the country. This applies to Sajith Premadasa as well. If you remember about the Easter Sunday attacks, Nala Godeheva, who spread rumours about infertility pills, has joined Sajith Premadasa's alliance. The National People's Power will assume power to resolve all of the ongoing issues the country is facing. We can't promise that we will resolve every problem. These candidates will not bring solutions. They don't bring solutions because they will lose all of their privileges. They use the method of buying and selling so that they can profit through commissions. They share the profits while the country entered bankruptcy. We will assume power to make this country prosperous.
Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the Sarwajana Balaya-led alliance, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, emphasised that a government led by the Sarwajana Balaya will not foster a society reliant on welfare. Addressing a gathering, Premadasa highlighted that by the end of a 2-year period of providing welfare for lower-income families, the SJB-led government expects these families to transition from poverty to self-reliance.
An election rally pledging support to the leader and presidential candidate of the Sarwajana Balaya-led alliance, Sarwajana Sandhanaya, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, was held yesterday in Mawatagana.
I want to emphasize that the country has united to form a government that safeguards the rights of ordinary citizens and that we are committed to fulfilling that wish. We will implement the Gamudawa initiative, which aims to build homes for people in villages, cities and plantations. Our objective is not to create a society dependent on welfare. We will introduce a program to eradicate poverty. Families struggling with poverty will receive a monthly welfare payment of 20,000 rupees for 24 months. This support will aid in savings, meeting basic needs and fostering local manufacturing and exports. By the end of this 24-month period, we expect these families to transition from poverty to self-reliance. I promise that by implementing this package, we will assist families in overcoming poverty.
Meanwhile, another rally of the Sarwajana Balaya-led alliance was held in Chilaw today under the patronage of the party's presidential candidate, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
The incumbent president promised to uncover the truth of the Easter Sunday terror attack, but he did not follow through. The same applies to Gotabaya Rajapaksa. We are questioning why they have taken actions to conceal the truth. I consider the 22 million people of this country my family, and I will address their concerns as if they were my own, ensuring that answers are provided to the public's questions.
Meanwhile, independent presidential candidate President Ranil Wickremesinghe stated that he does not intend to provide subsidies to impoverished Sri Lankans, which will keep them in poverty perpetually. The president emphasized that he only proposes to grant subsidies to uplift the people to a position where they can aid in the country's development.
Another election campaign rally held under the theme Puluwan Sri Lanka, pledging support to independent presidential candidate President Ranil Wickremesinghe ahead of the presidential election, was held in Madavachiya today.
බොහෝ දෙනෙක් මගෙන් අහනවා ඇයි මං මේ තොප්පි අඳින්නේ කියලා. මං ඒ කතාව කියන්න. මම කිලිනොච්ච ගියද්දී
Many people ask me the reason why I wear this cap. I will now tell you that story. This was given to me by a Tamil woman at the end of my election rally in Kilinochchi. She offered it to me to pay her gratitude for providing them food, medicine, fertilizer and giving them a chance to live. We assumed power at a time no one else was willing to do so. People were hopeless at the time. I'm grateful that she gave me this cap. This cap is worth more than 100,000 rupees to me. Please cast your vote for me so that over the next 5 years we can create an export-oriented economy. This move is included in our Sri Lanka concept. I won't provide mere subsidies to keep people in poverty. I intend to increase the country's revenue. We will provide subsidies that will aid the people in increasing state revenue.
ඒකට අපි සහන දෙනවා කියලා මං කියන්න කැමතියි.
Meanwhile, President Wickremesinghe attended an open mic night youth event at the outdoor theatre in Diyatuyana, Batturamulla yesterday. President Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in discussions with the attendees.
අද ඔබතුමාගේ දැනගන්න කැමති මේ අරුණ කොල්ලෝගේ රැස්ලා ඉන්න මේ දේවන්නාව ස්මත්තේ ඔබතුමාගේ ඒ දේශපාලන මරණ ජීවිතයේදී රස කතාව දවන පත්‍රිකාව ගෙනාවේ අවස්ථාවේදී ජයවර්ධන ජනාධිපති
Former President J.R. Jayawardena appreciated my white paper proposal and gave me a good advice. However, he advised me not to collapse the government by focusing on reforms. Secondly, he advised me not to put my position at risk by attempting to introduce reforms. He asked me to ensure that my position and the government are safe before attempting anything. I use that concept in every move of my political life. I do everything without letting the government collapse or putting my position at risk.
Star dishwasher Rally Hell Indul Pahasuwen Sede. Star dishwasher magic tub එක.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
චන්දරුසුනේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Welcome back. Meanwhile, presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, emphasised that instead of promising constitutional amendments to Sri Lanka's Tamil and Muslim communities, he will work to ensure a brighter future for their children if elected to the office of president. Namal Rajapaksa also pledged to develop the tourism industry in the eastern province with Trincomalee at its centre.
A public rally in support of the presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, was held last evening in Kantale.
The NPP requests that the public vote for them to end the corrupt political culture that persisted in the country for 75 years. Once in power, they even assured to put an end to theft, fraud and corruption. But may I inquire if they have made any contributions towards this nation? Have they ever made an effort to improve the Trincomalee district's infrastructure? Have they ever granted employment opportunities for the youth in Trincomalee? Voters will support them if they have taken action to develop the nation. Those who haven't done anything to develop the country so far are requesting the people to vote for them so that they can develop the country. We are requesting votes after working for the country, while they are requesting votes on the promise of working.
We are a political party that strictly adheres to principles. We will not accept the sale of state assets under the guise of bringing investors to the country. We will establish a manufacturing economy and boost the country's tourism sector. Once we assume power, we will put policies in place to establish a technologically advanced, agriculture-based economy. Additionally, steps will be taken to renovate the Trincomalee harbour to enable cruise ships to dock in eastern Sri Lanka. Additionally, we will implement measures to bolster the tourism sector in the eastern province of the country, particularly in Trincomalee.
Meanwhile, SLPP presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa attended another SLPP election rally in Batticaloa this morning.
The people of this country passed a challenging time period during the last few years. There were conflicts between different ethnic groups. This division is more intense during the elections. However, I do not exploit those conflicts for political gain. I promise to protect the nation's Muslim and Tamil cultures. As a country established under the Buddhist philosophy, it is our duty to protect other cultures as well. I will protect the Tamil language in the same manner that I protect the Sinhala language. Other politicians promise the Tamil and Muslim communities that they will amend the constitution. However, none of them speak of the future of the children. I cannot assure you of any constitutional change. However, I promise to provide a bright future for the youth of this country. Therefore, I request that you support us to win the upcoming election.
Meanwhile, presidential candidate of the Sarwajana Balaya, Jayavira, noted that necessary policies to increase the revenue of Sri Lankan farmers by twofold within 2 cultivation seasons are included in his strategic plan. Addressing a gathering, the Sarwajana Balaya presidential candidate went on to say that his strategic plan was formulated following thorough research of policies implemented by the developed nations of the world.
A rally of the Dilith Gamara series of electorate rallies was held in Kantale today under the patronage of presidential candidate of the Sarwajana Balaya, Jayavira.
ලෝකයේ දියුණු රටවල් භාවිතා කරන උපක්‍රමත් ඒ දියුණු රටවල් කොහොමද ජනතාවගේ සුබ සාධනය සඳහා මොනවද කරලා තියෙන්නේ?
We have formulated a strategic plan after thoroughly studying strategies used by developed countries towards ensuring the welfare of their people and how they have secured funding to execute such measures. We have illustrated how a newborn in Sri Lanka will become a person living in a developed first world country. How will the lives of the agrarian people of Trincomalee who pay taxes transform? Must they continue to be farmers facing hardships? We have proposed in our strategic plan how traditional farmers can be transformed into entrepreneurial farmers. I pledge to you that your revenue will be doubled within 2 seasons. Our strategies for this initiative are mentioned in this plan. We have a separate chapter allocated for the women of Sri Lanka. If you are burdened with the debt through loans obtained for the purpose of attempting to establish a business, we will abolish unjust interest rates. You have been presented with an opportunity to end the political era which maintained poverty in Sri Lanka for decades. You are not here to give them the spotlight. However, we are here competing under the symbol star to ensure that you are given the spotlight.
ඔවුන් තරු කරන්නට නෙමෙයි. ඒ හොරු ඔබයි තරුව ඔබ තරු කරවන වැඩපිළිවෙලයි මෙවර මේ තරුව ලෙස ඒ තරුව වෙනුවෙන් මම ඇවිල්ලා තිබෙනවා.
This program is sponsored by
දැන් රුපියල් 280ට සිග්නල් ග්‍රෑම් 160ක් ලංකාවේ වාසිම මිලකට තියෙන පැක් එකක්.
Tea estate owners and estate workers unions arrived at an agreement on the minimum daily wage for estate workers during today's meeting of the Wages Board. The basic daily wage has been set at 1,350 rupees with a 50 rupee incentive for each kilogram of tea leaves plucked in addition to the minimum amount. On the 30th of April this year, the Commissioner General of Labour published an extraordinary Gazette notification increasing the minimum daily wage of estate workers to 1,700 rupees from 1,000 rupees. However, 21 plantation companies filed writ petitions before the Court of Appeals against the Gazette notification, requesting that the court issue an order invalidating it. Following the consideration of the petition, the court issued an interim order preventing the implementation of the Gazette notification. Subsequently, the Ministry of Labour published a separate Gazette notification cancelling the original notification regarding the increase of the minimum daily wage of estate workers. Against such a backdrop, during the meeting of the Wages Board on the 12th of August, which was chaired by the Commissioner General of Labour, the resolution to increase the minimum daily wage of estate workers to 1,700 rupees was passed by a majority vote. Following this development, a new Gazette notification regarding the minimum daily wage of tea and rubber estate workers was published on the 13th of August. According to the notification, the basic daily wage would be 1,350 rupees, while a 350 rupee incentive was to be granted based on productivity. Accordingly, the minimum daily wage was to be 1,700 rupees. However, the wage scheme stipulated by the Gazette notification was not implemented. Against this backdrop, the Wages Board once again convened today, chaired by the Commissioner General of Labour. During the meeting, plantation owners as well as estate workers unions agreed to a basic daily salary of 1,350 rupees and a 50 rupee incentive for each kilogram of tea leaves plucked in addition to the minimum weight.
During a previous discussion, a request was made for a 350 rupee productivity-based incentive. Estate owners were of the view that a worker must pluck a minimum of 7 kilograms of tea leaves in order to be eligible to receive the productivity-based incentive. However, we as Estate Workers Union opposed this stance as it was not in the interest of the workers. Therefore, we requested that instead of the productivity-based incentive, the daily basic wage and an incentive for each kilogram of tea leaves plucked in addition to the minimum weight be standardized. Accordingly, the Commissioner General of Labour decided to publish a Gazette notification that would see the new daily wage scheme be implemented from today onwards.
Following the meeting of the Wages Board, the Estate Workers Unions met with the General Secretary of the Lanka Jatika Estate Workers Union, MP Vadivel Suresh.
The Wages Board has a duty and responsibility to ensure that workers receive a stable basic daily wage. That is why we gazetted the basic daily wage at 1,350 rupees. Contribution to the EPF and ETF as well as gratuity must be calculated based on this 1,350 rupee basic daily wage. The worker will receive the gratuity payment upon retirement. Contributions to the EPF and ETF amount to 202 rupees. As such, at the end of a day's work, a worker should earn a minimum of 1,552 rupees. Additionally, we have restricted the incentives a worker can earn to 350 rupees. As the incentive for each additional kilogram of tea leaves plucked in 50 rupees, if a worker plucks 10 kilograms of tea leaves in addition to the minimum amount, they would earn 500 rupees.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining and have a good night.